Shows it right here. The president's disapproval rating up to 50%. Only 47% approve of the job the president is doing.
Seen him every day at some point talking about the jobs crisis in this country. 10% unemployment. This White House is treating it as a crisis. Both parties on Capitol Hill say it's a crisis. And the fact is, that's why he's sitting at 50%, sometimes plus or minus a couple of points, depending on the day. That's because the country is still feeling anxiety about the economy. We can talk about Afghanistan, we can talk about health care. There's certainly a lot of other things that can contribute to the political noise of Washington. But at the end of the day, when you look historically, you know, presidents are judged by history, by their international decisions, but politically, they're judged by how things are going domestically in the short term.
I agree with you, and I think that's why Richard Nixon got into big trouble with Watergate. It was the terrible economy at the time, and why Bill Clinton, despite the embarrassment with Monica Lewinsky and all that, was able to get through because the economy was going along swimmingly.
On President Obama and the Nobel Peace Prize. The president is in Oslo, Norway, to receive the honor this morning, as a new poll shows he is less popular than ever here at home. CBS News Chief White House correspondent Chip Reed is traveling with the president.
The president's approval rating in the new CBS News New York Times poll is 50%, the lowest since he took office. And with most polls showing Americans believe he does not deserve the Nobel Peace Prize, it's not clear whether accepting it will help him or hurt him at home. The irony of a war president accepting the Nobel Peace Prize was front and center this morning as the president spent most of a brief press conference explaining his troop surge in Afghanistan.
July 2011 will signal a shift in our mission.
Amid conflicting signals from his advisors, the president sought to make clear that the beginning of the drawdown is etched in stone.
I've been unambiguous about this, so there should not be a debate.
The president also repeated his belief that he doesn't feel he deserves the prize.
I have no doubt that there are others who may be more deserving.
Earlier, after a Peace Prize signing ceremony, he reiterated that he's accepting the prize not as a reward for his accomplishments, but as a call to action, as it was with a previous winner, Martin Luther King Jr.
When Dr. King won his prize, it had a galvanizing effect around the world, but also lifted his stature in the United States.
In his acceptance speech, the president will say he's accepting the Peace Prize in the hope that it will help him make progress on some of his top causes, including nuclear non-proliferation and global warming.
The anointed one just can't seem to get a break when it comes to his poll numbers recently. Now, Mr. President, I think the American people are sending you a message. Maybe you should listen. Now, approval ratings taken among residents in liberal Massachusetts show that Republican Scott Brown is more well-liked than both the anointed one and the state's other senator, that's Democrat John Kerry. Now, Brown's 55% approval rating puts him 1 point ahead of Obama and 3 points ahead of Kerry. Now, in the UK, where the president was revered upon his election, citizens seem disgusted by his response to the BP spill. A Sky News poll shows that 68% of those polled in Great Britain view the Obama administration more negatively in the wake of the spill. Not only that, but 28% of respondents see Britain's relationship with the U.S. as less important than they did before the spill. Now, these alarming numbers come on the heels of a shocking Wall Street Journal poll that showed the anointed one's approval rating at just 45%, which is a new low for the president.
A new all-time low for the president's approval rating. Brand new Fox News Opinion Dynamics poll showing only 43% now approve of the job that President Obama is doing. The economy, the war, and the gusher in the Gulf all weighing heavily on the minds of most Americans. And this could have a major impact come November in the midterms, even though the president is not on the ballot. Radio talk show host.
And in the midst of this visit by his high-level House guest, we know a lot more tonight about what Americans think of their president right about now. Tonight we're debuting our new NBC News Wall Street Journal poll. It shows a dramatic turn in opinion here lately, and our political director, Chief White House correspondent Chuck Todd, here to unveil the numbers for us tonight. Welcome.
Well, thank you, Brian. What a move. Tomorrow, of course, is the 2-year anniversary of since Obama took office. His job approval rating now sitting at 53%. This is the highest level it's been since July 2009, the month before the health care debate took off and served as a drag for 18 straight months. Now, 3 reasons why this number jumped up. Number one, the president's handling of Tucson. 74% approve of that, and of course, a lot has to do with the speech he gave. Number two, simple optimism about the economy and the future of America. 53% say over the next 5 years, things are going to get better. 6 months ago, it was 20 points lower. And then finally, how the president handled the lame duck Congress. 55% believe the president is going to strike the right balance in dealing with Republicans, but 55% believe the Republicans are going to be too inflexible in dealing with the president. As our pollsters put it this morning, Brian, going into the State of the Union.
Right now, President Obama is enjoying an uptick in the polls. Is it sustainable? The approval bump comes after the tragedy in Tucson and his widely well-received speech there. The president has also been moving to the center on a lot of issues with a compromise with Republicans on tax cuts. So what is really behind this boost in the president's numbers?
We just got into the newsroom some brand new numbers from Gallup that came in moments ago, and they show an all-time low for President Obama's approval rating, 41%. Approval rating, 50% disapprove of the job that he is doing as president right now.
We reduce our deficit. The debate is about how we reduce our deficit.
President Obama is visiting battleground states this week, and everyone knows what the battle is.
Yeah, and that pesky how we reduce always seems to be the problem here. All right, top line starts right now. Well, I love me some polls, and we have a new poll out today, Washington Post ABC News poll. And here's our first top line. It's not me, it's actually you. President Obama's approval rating is down 7 points since our poll came out in January, down to 47%. But here's what's really interesting.
We can't just tell the wealthiest among us, you don't have to do a thing. You just sit there and relax, and everybody else, we're going to solve this problem. It's not a trade-off that I'm willing to make. It's not a trade-off that I think most Americans think is fair, no matter what party you belong to. That's not who we are as a country. We're better than that.
Welcome back to Harvard. That's President Obama today with some lines that are sure to be part of his re-election bid. Some new poll numbers out today from the Washington Post and ABC show how tough work he has to face right now. The president's job approval is down to 47%. That's a 9-point swing from a month ago. And asked whether they'd vote for President Obama in 2012, just 28% of the people in this country say definitely will. 25% said maybe, that ends up to 53%, but 45% say definitely not going to vote for him.
CBS News political analyst John Dickerson. John, good morning to you. Good morning, Fred. The bump that we see in President Obama's approval ratings, does this look like it could be good news over the long term?
Well, those numbers will likely fall for the president, but if his numbers don't stay up, what may be the long-term benefit for the president here is that there may be a floor here. His numbers may not fall as far as they would have before this. Republicans have been making the case, and Republican candidates were going to make the case that the president was indecisive, was too ponderous. Well, what this shows is the president was not only ready to act, but also had his eye on the ball. That was another charge Republicans have made. So if the numbers don't stay up, it will be still harder, though, for Republicans to knock those numbers down during the campaign.
President George W. Bush, if you remember, his approval ratings shot up after the capture of Saddam Hussein, but it didn't last. Now, why is it that foreign policy victories only really hold kind of a temporary impact in public opinion?
Foreign policy numbers are durable and helpful to a president in two ways. One, if people are still concerned about the foreign policy exercises going on, not distracted by something else. And secondly, if people still think that the foreign policy adventure, the war or whatever, is going well. Well, with George Bush, the last president, his numbers went up after Saddam Hussein was captured. But overall, people were disappointed with the progress in the Iraq War. With his father, people were quite happy with the way the first Gulf War went, and then their focus shifted to the economy. When that happened, the president's numbers plummeted.